Hi, Little Bob here to let you know that my Bobopedic mattresses offer the comfort and quality of a national mattress brand for half the price. No matter your budget, there's a Bobopedic Memory Foam Hybrid or Hybrid Plus mattress for you. But don't take it from me. Check them out at mybobs.com. Hi, Little Bob here to let you know that my Bobopedic mattresses offer the comfort and quality of a national mattress brand for half the price. No matter your budget, there's a Bobopedic Memory Foam Hybrid or Hybrid Plus mattress for you. But don't take it from me. Check them out at mybobs.com.
This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth, for competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty, for the Republic.
I'm the guy who at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. A very important show, more than an important show, frankly, a seminal show. We're at a crossroads in American history. We're at a crossroads in terms of the existence of Israel, not just our greatest ally, but for Christians and Jews. And we are a Judeo-Christian country. That's the basis upon which we were formed. Judeo-Christian values, 10 Commandments, the Talmud, the teachings of Moses, the teachings of Jesus, the teachings of God, the Father, particularly as brought to earth through his Son, Jesus Christ. We're at a crossroads. And we see what's going on right now. Over the last week, maybe 2 weeks, there have been attacks on Jews in California, most particularly Beverly Hills, a very high Jewish population, in Florida, Boca Raton, Florida, in New York City, all around the country. Have you heard the government say anything about this? No, you haven't. The only thing you've heard are from people like the radical Muslims, Rashida Tlaib and Ilham Omar, and then Alessandria Ocasio-Cortez, frankly, who's too stupid to understand the thing, but she goes along with the flow. She's an anti-Semite as well. And frankly, Joe Biden, he's also an anti-Semite because he said nothing about the attacks on Jews. And of course, we know that Obama was. And if you think it's just going to be leveled against Jews, you're sadly wrong, because the next in line are Christians. And of course, you know, I'm both. I'm a Jewish Christian. I'm Messianic. So I get it both ways. But I am so enraged. And later on in the show, we're going to have Laura Loomer, the great female Jewish activist who's taken on Tlaib and Omar and paid the price for it, the most banned woman in social media, someone who can't even get a hearing in court. The judges don't want to hear the cases. I've been her lawyer for many, many years. And then Jason Goodman, who runs Crowdsource the Truth, who's also Jewish, who experiences anti-Semitic content, you know, when he does a broadcast with people writing in, sending texts. This is just part of a broader problem. But the biggest problem is our own government, our so-called government. The government now, which is stacked, which is in total control of the radical left, in control of the socialists, in control by the communists, in control by the atheists, in control by the radical Muslims, in control by the Marxian Jewish left, in control by radical LGBTQTs, in control by radical blacks. These people could care less about attacks on Jews and Christians. These people, by and large, are atheists. They believe that the government is their God, just like under communism, the government was their God, like in the former Soviet Union, where religion was outlawed. And what has happened is that all of these groups have banded together to take control Now, many of them have nothing in common. For instance, the radical Muslims and the feminists and the LGBTs, they have nothing in common. In fact, at some point, if the Muslims are following the creed of Islam, then the gays, the lesbians, and the transgenders, they're in big trouble. Same for the feminists. There's no equal rights in the Middle East for women. But yes, they want control. So they banded together. And the country ultimately, as this thing continues, as this total leftist control continues, they will start fighting with these other, as well as attacking Christians, Jews, and whites in this country, as we now see a great uptick. And remember that most Jews are white, okay? So it's also an attack on white people. And everybody's equal. I'm a civil rights lawyer in many ways. And our founding fathers evolved this country into a country for all people. Yet the evil forces of the left are taking this country apart, and the Jewish left is actually joined in. People like Bernie Sanders, probably the most despicable person in Congress today, and that's saying a lot. He's even worse than Tlaib and Omar, because you know what? He is of Jewish origin. He should understand where he comes from. And over the last 11 days with the war in Israel, he has attacked Israel. He has degraded Israel. He has put down Israel. He's a communist. Of course, he doesn't like Israel. His father changed his name. His name isn't Sanders. They're embarrassed of their Jewish name. This guy is a total leftist whore. And then you've got the president of the United States, the so-called president, who says nothing. But okay, if you have a bad hair day, if you're black, that becomes racist. This is something that needs to be addressed. And then we have a Justice Department, which is being used as the Gestapo of Biden and Harris. They have a civil rights division. What have they done? Nothing. Nothing. Talk about hate crimes. Crimes against Jews are much higher per capita than they are even against blacks and other minorities. And this is why I wrote my book, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry, because we have no government. My friend Ben Stein, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, and I had him on another show I was hosting for Alan Keyes yesterday on his show, Let's Talk America, A Courageous Black. He was attacked recently in Beverly Hills by Muslims. They pretended that they hit his car. They wanted to get out of the car. They obviously would either have carjacked him or harmed him or even killed him. So he speeds off with his chauffeur, and he goes to the Beverly Hills police. And what do they tell him? We can't do anything about it. Go buy yourself a gun, and you can conceal carry. Well, you know what? In California, it's very hard to even get a concealed carry weapon. That was the answer. And that's the answer of our government. Beverly Hills is highly Jewish, but yet they wouldn't stand up to a prominent Jew who lives in Beverly Hills and to take any action. These people who are carrying Palestinian flags, you have individuals out there and press organizations saying, well, we don't really know it was a hate crime. Well, you know what? They're carrying a Palestinian flag. Probably most of them aren't even Palestinian. They're hiding behind that banner. They're just Muslim in general. Now, there are good Muslims. I've represented many. Many are my friends. Many are no longer Muslims. They quit because the religion has been taken over. It's been taken over by these evil forces, and it's being used to harm others. And then you've got the black Muslim community, people like Farrakhan. It's no accident that he's Muslim. It's no accident the black Muslim movement, is anti-Semitic. There's no accident with that. And right behind that comes Christians and Jews. And this is why we have citizens' grand juries. And we're going to be acting on this because we are peacefully and legally going to address this question. But I also urge everybody to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Go out and buy a gun. Don't use it offensively. Use it defensively. But if someone attacks you, if they want to start it, you finish it, and you have the right to finish it, as Wyatt Earp did in the Old West when they killed his brothers. There was nobody there to help him, and he went out and he took care of business. And I'm not advocating killing anybody, but you get prepared, like the Beverly Hills police said to Ben Stein, to defend yourself. Go buy a weapon and be prepared, because you can no longer walk down the street in this country anymore, whether you're Jew, Christian, or white, and expect to be treated with any respect, much less being safe. I know this sounds very, very strong. I'm very upset today, which is why I'm bringing on my friends, Laura Loomer and Jason Goodman. But we've reached a crossroads in this country. I don't want to see it become the Wild West. And that's why we do have citizens grand juries. And you can tune in every Thursday, generally at 11 a.m. Eastern or 8 a.m. Pacific. This week, we began the process to indict Anthony Fauci for collaborating with the Wuhan lab and causing all this economic, emotional, and health damage to this nation and the rest of the world. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and watch that. Take it to heart. It's time for the American people to rise up, to take back our legal system, to support the police. I started another organization with Joe Arpaio called America's Sheriff. We need to support the police. And even though the Beverly Hills Police didn't do their job with regard to Ben Stein, most of the police in this country, and the Beverly Hills Police usually are very good, but we cannot rely on them solely. We have to rely on ourselves. And that's where we are. There was an expression after World War II, particularly as occurred with the Jewish Defense League, never again, never again. And you know where the blame also rests? With Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel. Talks a good game, but never gets up on the dance floor and really dances and finishes a dance. This is the third time that he's bowed down to the American government run by Barack Obama and now Joe Biden. When Joe Biden calls and says, don't take out Hamas, he gets down on his knees and begs forgiveness. He's left a cancer in place that will grow back yet again. The Israelis themselves need to have more nerve. They do not need to worry about what the other parts of the world think. No one certainly came to their defense in World War II when 6 million Jews perished. I want you to go out and watch the movie Exodus with Paul Newman. Do that, one of the greatest movies of all time, because the history of the Jews is tied to the history of Christians. And again, Jesus was a Jewish rabbi. He paid the ultimate price for being Jewish. He came to earth for the Father. Father put him in a human form so he could explain to the people why we needed to follow the ways of God, Yahweh. Jesus' name was Yeshua. We need to do it again, because if we don't listen to what the God is telling us, if we don't rise up and protect ourselves, we will perish like the 6 million Jews did in World War II. I'll be right back with Jason Goodman and Laura Loomer. Listen carefully. Even if you're not Jewish, you're at risk, and it's time that you rise up and defend yourself and assert your inalienable rights under the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. God bless you. Listen carefully. Your life may depend on it.
Fearless.
Disclaimer, he's crazy, he's racist, he's out to kill the Democrats.
Dangerous.
You don't care, he uses the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad,
Special Prosecutor
very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
I'm with my very good friends and colleagues, Jason Goodman and Laura Loomer, both Jewish, both activists. Jason, of course, is the CEO of Crowdsource the Truth. He carries and participates in our citizens' grand juries. Laura, obviously a courageous woman, my client, my friend, as well as Jason. I want to get their take, and let's start with you, Jason, because you're a little bit under a time constraint here, on your reaction to the anti-Semitic wave that's occurring now, not just in Los Angeles, but New York City, throughout the country and the world. And then let's factor in what Laura has to say, and then I'll say my piece, because frankly, I'm madder than hell.
It's incredibly troubling, Larry. I mean, you know, I definitely do not know as much about the history and the politics of Israel as you or Laura. And as such, I try to stay out of the argument because I just don't know enough. However, when the violence comes to my neighborhood and Palestinians or supporters of Palestinians are just arbitrarily attacking New Yorkers because they're Jewish, that's where the line is drawn for me. Those people need to be arrested immediately. And what I saw last night was a mob of 6 to 10 people running up to a guy who was laying in the street motionless, ostensibly a Jewish guy. These guys were wearing the Palestinian checkered headscarves, kicking the guy in the head. One kick, and then they'd run away, smash a bottle, and run away. Those are cowards, and they're going to kill somebody like that. They need to be mopped up, taken off the streets, sent home, or shot immediately.
Well, I'll tell you something. Trump had it right. They should be thrown out of this country, frankly. Let them go back to where they came from. And this is a disgrace, and the media is a disgrace. I mean, you can see it's reported today, New York Times, other leftist publications that, quote, it might be a hate crime. If this was a black, you can believe it would be a hate crime. Laura, get your comments on this, and then I'll weigh in.
Well, it's coming to my neighborhood, too. And, in Meisner Park in Boca Raton last night, and Boca, of course, is part of Palm Beach County where I live, and I'm running for Congress. There were hundreds of Palestinians, protesting through Meisner Park. And it's a form of intimidation because, District 21 in Boca Raton, Florida, it's probably it is the most Jewish district in the entire country. And it's very heavily populated Jewish area. And so they're coming to predominantly Jewish areas like New York City and Boca Raton and, places in California like Beverly Hills and Los Angeles where a lot of Jews live. And they're intimidating them on purpose because they're hoping to get violent. And that's what these protests are. They're violent. And it needs to stop. And they're using the First Amendment and free speech as a pretext to promote terrorism in America. But, the First Amendment does not extend to aiding and abetting terrorists, and it does not extend to terrorist propaganda. That's where I draw the line.
Well, I think it goes even beyond that. I'm not even sure these people are Palestinians. I think they may be taking up the Palestinian flag. I think they're Muslims from all walks of life. And I have to question why they're in this country, why they're allowed to remain. Obviously, part of the open borders policy, people are running across the border and right next to Mexico and California and Arizona and Texas. And this is a serious problem. And we don't hear much about this. In fact, Joe Biden, if you want to call him our president, I don't recognize him, or Kamala Harris, same thing for vice president, have said nothing about it. Yet, if a hair on a black person's head is in any way blown out of sync, and he has a bad hair day, that becomes the biggest crime ever by white people against blacks. What do you think?
Tell you what, Larry, this is exactly what Laura has been telling me about for the past 2 years. The revelations from the explanatory memorandum from the archives of the Muslim Brotherhood describe exactly this. They've created a social condition where it's acceptable to tweet these things and support this type of activity. Anyone who is in support of the Palestinian movement right now is supporting domestic terrorism in the United States and in New York City as of last night.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. It's the promotion of the Muslim Brotherhood, because the Muslim Brotherhood is, Hamas, is the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so all of these Palestinian resistance movements are basically the Muslim Brotherhood trying to take hold through civilization jihad and take over American cities. And it's what's really alarming to me is now they've been so successful in that support for Israel used to be a bipartisan matter. You even had Republicans and Democrats coming together to say Israel is our ally and we will always support Israel.
We're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back with another segment because this is a broader issue. We need to flesh it out and discuss it. We'll be right back with Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
Among the various problems giving rise to this anti-Semitic wave, which is much greater per capita, per person, than anything against blacks, or for that matter, any other group, and it's historical. 6 million of us died at the gas chambers and ovens in World War II. And one of the greatest benefactors of the left, of course, is George Soros, who, along with his father, confiscated the property to save his own skin on behalf of the Nazis, with Jews going to their death in gas chambers and ovens. But it's the educational system, because these people who, frankly, watch what's going on with these so-called Palestinians, and they're not all Palestinians, believe me. They're Muslims of all different stripes and areas, but they don't understand the history of Israel. Number one, they are not solely Palestinians. The Jewish people and Christians who happen to have lived in Palestine are also Palestinians. So that's a misnomer, number one. Number two, in 1948, when Israel was created with a UN declaration, the nation, or if you want to call it nation, the territory of Palestine, which was occupied by Christians and Jews and Muslims, was divided up. The Muslims got half, and the Jews got the other half. And the Christians, of course, being the brothers of the Jews, were also there as well. And what happened is that wasn't good enough. The Arabs had to move against the Jewish people, to destroy them, to kill them, to drive them into the sea. And by the grace of God, the Jews prevailed. 1967, the Arabs were about ready to annihilate Israel again on the border of Israel. Israel attacked in advance, and they won. They won another war, and they acquired control of the West Bank and Gaza and the Golan Heights. Then there was 1973. Anyway, I can go on and on and on. And every time that the Arabs and the Muslims have tried to annihilate the Jews, they've lost. And I'll tell you something. I'm a Zionist. I'm a Jew, a Messianic. God happens to have been on the side of the Jews. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. The Arabs haven't won squat in 6,000 years, because you know what? They're a religion that has been inhabited, in my view, the Muslims, by the devil. Now, this is where we are right now, and we're seeing the manifestation of it. And then what makes it even worse is that the Jewish left, people like Bernie Sanders, a self-hating Jew who hates himself, a communist, comes out there in support of Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and professes that he's going to be neutral and that everything that's going wrong is the result of the Israelis. And then the Israelis are to blame too, because you have Netanyahu, who has a big mouth, who talks a good game, but every time he's had a chance to wipe out Hamas and Hezbollah, he comes up short and bows down. And, I'm sorry if I'm vulgar, but I'm very, very upset today. Basically kisses the behind of people like Biden and Obama. So as far as I'm concerned, Jewish people haven't been strong enough. And it's time, frankly, that they exercise their Second Amendment rights, arm up. My friend Ben Stein was attacked the other day in Beverly Hills. He went over to the police station. They said, why don't you just get yourself a gun and you can get yourself a carry permit, and that's it. Well, where are the police in Beverly Hills, frankly, on that? So it's time for Jews to rise up and defend themselves. I'm sorry. And Christians as well, because they're next. But I want to get your thoughts, because, frankly, I am unbelievably angry. And, and at this point, frankly, the fault lies in many different areas. Your thoughts, Laura?
Well, look, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews, and Jewish people for centuries have been the scapegoat of these movements, right? And we've seen the persecution of Jews all throughout history, and how, nobody seems to want to do anything when it starts with the Jews, but the Christians will be next, and then the progressive leftists will be next as well, because this isn't just, Jew hatred. This is Islamofascism, okay? And the attacks that are being waged against Jews right now are being excused because they're being done by Muslims. And we talk about white privilege in America, which is a farce and doesn't exist. It's a hoax. It doesn't exist. But what does exist is Muslim privilege, okay? And we're seeing that this, aiding and abetting of this and the support from the mainstream left of these radical Muslim movements is going to get Jewish people killed, and then it's going to get Christians killed. And then all the homosexuals and transsexuals who thought that these jihadis were their friends in taking down America and sabotaging Western civilization and our constitutional freedoms, well, they're going to learn that these radical Muslims are not in support of their preservation as well.
Well, I want to know, there are good Muslims, actually. Some of them are my friends. They've been my clients over the years. But I want to know where the Muslim community is now. Why are they not speaking out? It's been going on now for almost a week in terms of high-profile attacks on Jews. Where are they? Okay, so I don't have great sympathy, frankly, for the Muslim population in this country. If they're not going to speak out and protect their Jewish brothers, so to speak, and sisters, then I don't think they should deserve special privileges, and that's what they get. Jason, give me your thoughts.
Well, the answer, Larry, to the question of where are they, if we look to Muslim celebrities like model Bella Hadid, she is, through social media, convincing more mainstream celebrities like Susan Sarandon and others that they need to stand with Palestine. And here's the thing. Here's my bottom line on this, okay? Anybody with a gripe has a right to protest. But a group that rolls around New York City, like we saw last night, doing donuts in a BMW with a Palestinian flag in front of Washington Square Park on a public street, that's endangering the public, that's intimidating the public. It's a brazen demonstration that they're in control. NYPD is not in control. This is not a peaceful movement. And if they are targeting New Yorkers or Los Angelinos or people in Florida or anyone in the United States simply because they're Jewish, that is racism. That is terrorism. And Susan Sarandon, Bella Hadid, Mia Farrow, any of these moron celebrities who support the activities of the Palestinian supporters here in the United States are supporters of terrorism.
Well, it's also an effort by the left, which is largely atheist, to wipe out anyone who frankly is religious, whether it's Jews or Christians. During the last 11 days, when we had the so-called war against Hamas, of course, again, Netanyahu got cold feet and bowed down to Biden like he did with Obama and cut it off. He should have finished the job. It's like a cancer that will grow back over and over and over again, and he gets blamed too. But even Gal Gadot, who was this great ambassador for Israel, beautiful actress, Wonder Woman, who tries to play it both ways in Hollywood. She did serve in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. She did go to law school in Israel. She made a statement that she just wished that everybody would live in peace and wishes everyone well. And what happens? She gets vilified. She gets attacked. She gets destroyed. The Hollywood Jews are the worst. Okay, they are anti-Semitic themselves. They support the Palestinians before the Jews. And I think the time has come for Jewish people and for Christians to start pushing back. And I'm not talking about it in an offensive way. But if someone attacks you, they want to start it. I think the Jews need to finish it, because this is what happened in World War II. The Jews got on the boxcars. They thought they were going to summer camp. They thought Hitler was their great friend. And what happens? 6 million get sent to gas chambers and ovens. And that's exactly what's on the horizon here with the left. And what's being taught in the universities, that Israel's an apartheid state, and I'm a Zionist, and Laura's a Zionist. But that notwithstanding, any Jew in this country is now at risk for an attack. And you turn your back, you're going to get the knife in your back, just like people in Jerusalem, just like Jews in Jerusalem are getting the knife in their back right now. Laura?
This is what when they had the Crusades, and we are in a fight for Western civilization right now. And who knows, perhaps we need another modern crusade in order to preserve our American values and our Western values and prevent the establishment of a global Islamic caliphate in Ummah.
Well, that's right. I mean, Islam was hijacked. I use it metaphorically by the devil. But Islam, and not all Muslims are bad people. Many are no longer Muslims. They quit. But it's been inhabited. It's been inhabited by this evil force.
But that's the thing, though. They're not all bad, obviously. But the Muslims who are Reform Muslims, who are moderate Muslims, they're not considered real Muslims in Islamic countries. So they're not even real Muslims. If you call for Islamic reformation or moderation within Islam, you're not considered a real Muslim, according to, Islamic doctrine, because apostasy or, condemning anything in the Quran or condemning the way in the life of Muhammad, who is viewed as the most ideal man in Islam, is punishable by death in Islam. So there's no such thing.
And here's the ultimate outrage. someone like you, Laura, who says it straight up, okay, and confronted Ilham Omar and Rashida Tlaib. In fact, you were assaulted by Rashida Tlaib. We brought a lawsuit a few years ago. Of course, the judge in Minnesota, it's Minnesota, of course, dismissed it without a basis, didn't want it in his courtroom. They can do whatever they want to us, but when we seek to use legal means for redress, then you're thrown out of court. Or when you're defamed as a white supremacist or a white nationalist or a grifter or whatever the case may be, even leftist Jewish judges down there in Broward County look the other way. So, part of the problem here is that the Jewish left, which of course supports the Palestinians, is that, they'll just go the other way. And that's a formula for what happened in Nazi Germany. Because if you don't rise up and you don't defend yourself, then more is on the horizon. Jason?
Larry, the internet tells me 1.8 billion Muslims in the world, 14 million Jews. So it's difficult for me to understand how Jews could be oppressing Muslims. And when I see a gang of people of any religion attacking a person on the ground, kicking him in the head and running away, I have no sympathy. That's cowards. That's bullies. That's terrorists. Those are vermin that need to be exterminated.
Yeah, well, Trump had it right. Don't let them into this country. And of course, the leftist judiciary, particularly the federal judiciary, opened the door for them. Biden, within milliseconds of becoming our so-called president, opens the door. They're flooding across the border, not just, from South America and Central America, but from the Middle East and elsewhere. Our country is under attack. It is crucial. And that's why we are in a revolutionary state. It's why I wrote my book, It Takes a Revolution. Forget the scandal industry. Enough of Sean Hannity and being entertained. We now have to rise up, get up off the floor. We're not offensive, we're defensive, but we need to defend ourselves. And we need to form a new government. And as you know, Jason, you're going to be covering it, you're going to be there, is that on July 5th and 6th, 2021, just in a month and a half in Philadelphia, we're going to have the Third Continental Congress. We're going to bring together learned people from all aspects of American life, seeking to get participation from all 50 states. The Third Continental Congress, it was the Second Continental Congress, which gave rise to the Declaration of Independence. And of course, that begins by saying that when in the course of human events, the sovereign, the rulers no longer represent the people have a right under the laws of nature and nature's God. They didn't say the laws of King George III, the laws of nature and nature's God, to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people with equal rights in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Now, when you see a government such as we currently have, which sits there and watches what's going on in the last few weeks with regard, not just with regard to Israel, trying to harm Israel, but saying nothing about the attacks on Jews, but yet any attack on a black, becomes a major issue, as it should if it's legitimately an attack, then you know that it's time to wage a second American revolution. I want to thank you both for coming on. I've been very, very excited during this interview, and I know you are too. But I'll tell you from my standpoint, from Larry Klayman, I'm not going to take it. I'll be right back with the verdict section of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
Whether you're Jewish or not, I'm Jewish and Christian, I'm both. And take a lesson from Jesus Christ, who got crucified on the cross, who happened to have been a Jewish rabbi. That's perhaps the biggest example of anti-Semitism in world history of the universe, of the galaxy. There was an expression, of the Jewish Defense League in New York City many years ago with Meyer Kahane. Never again. Never again. Never again can we allow this to occur. And if Jews don't rise up and defend themselves, and of course, you've got the Jewish left to contend with when you're an ordinary Jew, and most Jews are not like the Jewish left. They're not the disciples of Marx and Trotsky and Lenin and Alinsky and Soros. But if Jews don't rise up, the next on the hit list are Christians. And of course, the Christians have been persecuted. We saw what's going on with ISIS and the Middle East. We know there's a lot of anti-Christian sentiment in this country. And it's time for Jews and Christians to rise up together and say, we've had it, we're done. Sorry, we're out of here. We're going to form a new government. We don't need you people anymore. We don't need your patty cakes in Washington, D.C. We don't need you, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, which is worthless, which simply pays lip service to what goes on. What have they done? And the move to the left right now is the result, not just of a socialism, not just of a communism, but largely of an atheism, or even worse, of religions like Islam that have been infiltrated by radicals, literally infiltrated by the devil. And this is something which the American people need to understand. And it's time to push back. Never again. Never again. So you go out, exercise your Second Amendment rights, purchase a firearm. Don't use it offensively. Don't hurt anybody. But if someone wants to start it with you, finish it. And that's what the Israelis didn't do. They never finished it. And Netanyahu, frankly, should be thrown out on his rear end for the third time. He caved in, first to Obama, now to Biden, two Bobsy twins, and let the cancer remain in Gaza with Hamas, and it will grow back. And to make matters worse, you've got Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is just as bad as Hamas. You've got the Islamic Jihad. They are surrounded. And Jews and Christians, should not be ashamed for who we are. We should not be ashamed that we're primarily white. Of course, there are Jewish people who are people of color and also Christians as well. But it's time not to be ashamed. It's time to act. And as far as our own government is concerned, a peaceful and legal revolution, as I talk about in my book, It Takes a Revolution. It's time. It's time we move on. It's time we have judges that'll stand in the stead for us, not judges like, we drew for Laura Loomer and what happened to her, or for that matter, me or anybody else of my clients and many people around the country. People with no courage, people that want to put their head in the sand, people that think that it will go away, just like the Jews of Germany who thought they were German before they were Jews. They thought, oh, this is just a passing thing. Well, you know what? They learned otherwise. 6 million of them, gas chambers and ovens. And that's where we're headed again for Jews and Christians and white people in general. And this is where we are today. So go out and get my book, It Takes a Revolution. Forget the scandal industry. Rise up peacefully and legally. Read the Declaration of Independence. Join our Third Continental Congress. You can see what we're doing in Philadelphia on July 5th and 6th. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Support our cause. With a contribution of $150 or more, you'll get a ticket, and you'll be let in as long as you're not a security risk, because we are going to do background checks, because we're not going to let these kinds of people get in there that just attack Jews all over the country and all over the world. This is the reason for Israel. It's a sanctuary for Jews and for Christians who were persecuted. And now they're being persecuted in the United States. And that's another reason why we must stand by our ally, Israel. Because if this, in fact, continues, and if we are overwhelmed, then Jews and Christians need a place to go. And what better place to go than the Holy Land, where it all began? And God forbid, hopefully not where it will all end. So thank you for listening to me. I'm very, very excited today about what's going on, but you should not take it anymore. I'm not taking it anymore. We're done. And as far as our government is concerned, they aren't worth squat. And we need a new government by and for the people, just as we did in 1776. I'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Until then, remember that the Father and the Son helps those that help themselves. If not, this country's going down real quick. God bless you.
Introducing Peacock, the new free streaming service from NBC Universal. It's hit movies, current shows, live sports, trending bits, and timeless hits. And that's why you can't not watch. Peacock. Watch for free. Upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com. Law & Order SVU streaming now. Peacock is streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals, and every live WWE pay-per-view. It's The Office, Chris Lee Knows Best, and Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster. Peacock. Watch for free. Upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
The lowest prices of the season are back this Thursday to Sunday only at JCPenney. Hurry to score thousands of deals on brands you love. Shop select Home Expressions bath towels for just $3.88. Women's St. John's Bay tees for just $6.88. And men's St. John's Bay polos for $9.88. And the prices are so low, there's no coupon needed. Celebrate a summer of savings with JCPenney. Offers valid 5/20 through 5/23. Some exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details. Details.